Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate supported ministries and or nonprofits. He's back again today, Randy Barr. Take it away, Randy.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Hi, folks. It's a pleasure meeting you a couple weeks ago, and you're kind enough to come on. But let me share my philosophy on the show. It's your show, not mine. I want to help you get out what you want. We definitely want to talk about the show and everything, and I might come in once in a while or if we're going too long, but it's your show. Now, the way I thought about it is maybe we'd start out where you grew up, but do you, and then do you. And then go a little further, do you, and do you. Instead of all one. What do you think?
Good.
What do you think?
Fun.
Ladies first.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you want her to do the whole thing and then you, or?
We'll go back and forth.
You're the
back
boss.
well-
We just follow orders.
I have never done it, so but I think back and forth will be okay.
That's fun.
If it isn't, we'll switch.
Sounds good. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I have to
Now,
bring
you want
this-
me to call you Peggy Lee?
Yeah, you can call me
Peg.
Peg,
Call her
okay.
Peg.
Peg of
And
my
Jeff.
heart.
Peggy Lee Brennan dash Haberer, but professionally she's Peggy Lee Brennan.
Okay.
And-
Haberer got dumped on her when she married me.
Which
and I
rhymes
actually-
with laborer.
we
Haberer rhymes with laborer.
We actually argued about that, a minor disagreement. I said, Haber, I hate the last name Haberer. I almost dropped that and kept my middle name, which is my mother's maiden name, which is Hastings. So
Isn't that a
Jeffrey with a
beautiful
G,
name?
Hastings.
Yeah, I
sounds
saw
better.
that on there. I thought
Jeffrey Hastings,
But
beautiful
I
stage
am
name.
officially Jeffrey Hastings Haberer. There you go.
All right, well,
But you may call me Peg. Actually,
Okay.
my real name as an Irish Catholic girl is Margaret Mary Teresa Peggy Lee Brennan Hastings Haberer. So you may call me Peg.
let's go with Peg.
And Jeff.
And Jeff
Just
with
call
the
me
G.
Jeff. It's
Jeff?
good. Good
Jeff with the G.
Jeffrey
G-E-O.
Hastings. I'm going to call you Jeffrey Hastings.
Jeffrey
I love that.
Hastings.
That was
I
his-
like that Hastings.
Isn't that
Yeah.
gorgeous? Any Screen Actors Guild.
Okay.
It's my middle name. It's,
Well,
Yes.
but
tell-
it's my mom's maiden name.
Tell us a little bit about your growing up years
Okay.
and how you got into
Acting?
acting, yeah.
I grew up on Staten Island, New York. You know
Or
where
as
that
they
is?
say, as they said over there, Staten Island.
Staten Island, the island. It's not Long Island. It's Staten Island is the island. And I went to 12 years of Catholic school. And when you're brought up on Staten Island, there's a lot of great community theater, high school theater, college theater,
And gangsters.
and gangsters. Yes, yes. There's, yes. In the neighborhood.
Do the right thing.
Yes.
Or else.
You have to know how to get around that, I take it.
You do, and you do. I never, to be honest, I didn't even realize I was hanging out with a lot of gangsters on Staten Island. Well, anyway, so I did theater in high school, and then I did theater in college as well.
So did you always know you wanted to do that kind of,
Well,
or
it's
what?
interesting because when I look at some of the recitals when I was like 5 years old, because I saw myself years later when I was 5 years old, and I was a big ham, like I'm on stage, and in real life I don't think of myself. I think I'm much more contained, but when I looked and I went at 5 years old, I saw that's what kind of I was supposed to be doing. And it wasn't until years later I went, even at 5.
Well, did
when I
mom,
was up
mom
on
and dad
stage.
encourage you?
My dad was in the business world. My mom was a mom, but she loved community theater. So she did community theater, and I took dance class. And then when I got to high school, Sister Antonia, who did the English classes and Shakespeare, she kind of encouraged me because we'd have to do different presentations in class. And she said to me when I was a freshman, she said, you should leave here and go to the Performing Arts High School. And I went,
As in-
that's not going to happen.
as in
I'm a little
fame.
Catholic schoolgirl from Staten Island. So then I started getting the leads in the shows in high school, in the boys' school, and I went to an
Ah.
all-girl Catholic school, and I loved it.
How, did you have Jesus growing up? Or did,
What happened was Sister Antonia, who was the English teacher, we were reading The Cross and the Switchblade
Ooh.
by David Wilkerson.
Ooh.
And she took our whole class to see David Wilkerson and Nikki Cruz speak at Staten Island College.
Wow.
Yes. And I remember our class all together, we went down and we accepted Jesus at that rally. And I remember what I wore, How many times do you remember what you wore when you were 15 years old? I had a red sweater on, and I had a quilted kind of pleated skirt. And I went down and I accepted Jesus
Well,
then.
you're Catholic. Were they okay with this? I mean,
Oh,
nowadays I don't know.
Oh yeah, no. Our school, we did folk masses. We studied the Bible in my high school, and my whole class accepted Jesus.
I was witnessing to my sister, and she didn't know, and she was going to Catholic because of her husband. And she come back one day and she says, "I saved Randy." I'm saying she went to a charismatic Catholic church.
That's
She
it.
said,
Yes. My mother is charismatic Catholic. His mother was charismatic Catholic, and they would always go. Where did they go to? We went to the
Fishnet.
Fishnet is a
Ministry that's primarily Episcopalian, Anglican, and Catholic. They would founded in up in Vermont, actually. By
beautiful.
I forget the people's
Judith
names.
McNutt and
yeah,
Father
Jim David
Father McNutt.
McNutt.
He was a priest.
Yeah,
She's a social worker, and they founded this beautiful ministry.
yeah, it's amazing. It's of distant,
"No, I've got
real Jesus, like Jesus freaks in their 70s, about
Like-
40 years ago.
Love,
And
charismatic.
I've got a lot of, I'm going to call it born-again Catholic friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care
You
if
could
you're
definitely-
Catholic or what you are.
No.
If
Right.
you got it, you got it. You
Amen.
know?
Yeah.
Even if you don't remember exactly when.
Yeah,
because
right,
you go,
that's
I
right.
was born Catholic. I was baptized, and I was
That's
like
right.
zero.
I've
point,
talked
you know,
to a lot
3
of people
2
come
weeks.
through the show. We talk about that. There's a line somewhere where you cross into and you don't have to know what it was.
You
You
don't-
don't have to pray a certain prayer,
Right.
but you just need to have it. You know?
Yeah.
Amen.
We were just listening this morning when Peter didn't, with Cornelius, he said, go into his home. And he was a Gentile.
Yep.
And, God loves everyone.
Oh yeah.
He wants to reach out to everyone because we're all fearfully, wonderfully made
Well-
in his image and likeness.
Well, Jeffrey Hastings, where'd you grow up? And how was mom and dad? And it sounds like your mom was cool.
Mom was pretty cool. Yeah, Dad was fine. They were opposites though. He was a stereotypic German engineer. She was a stereotypic Irish psychologist. And
Musicians,
so
both of them, though.
They had little conflicts back and forth, I have to say. But other than that, they were good parents. And
Where were you brought up?
I was brought up in Ramsey, New Jersey. They moved out to
Jersey.
Ramsey,
Joycey boy.
Jersey.
He's a Joycey boy.
My town, they didn't really have.
You know
the-
Frankie Valley? You know.
I didn't know
I
Frankie.
met
He's-
Frankie Valley.
He was more from the
Do you
ghetto.
know?
I don't know him well, but I met him years ago.
Oh yeah, because when she did Grease,
I
he
love
did
some-
Grease the movie, and she did on Broadway, and they all had parties and stuff. So she met Frankie through that. But yeah, I grew up in Ramsey, New Jersey. It's a bedroom community for the city. My parents, he was from upstate New York, she was from Jackson Heights, Queens, but they lived in Jackson Heights until they had their third kid in a one-bedroom apartment. They were like, we got to get out of here, and so they made that jump to suburbia, and they conceived me the day that they moved into that house. And they moved into a house on Canterbury Drive in the Ramsey Golf and Country Club. And interestingly enough, they named me Geoffrey, Geoffrey,
With a
which
G.
is the same name as the guy who wrote the Canterbury Tales, named Geoffrey who?
Chaucer.
So that's how I got
That's-
Geoffrey.
So you went to school
I
in
went to
Jersey.
school in Ramsey Public School, which is actually my town. The public school was better than the Catholic school. It was very
Staten Island has fabulous Catholic schools. Even the Jewish girls go to the school.
But in
because it's
Ramsey,
yes,
the public
they just
schools
have to
were
take a
better than the
course.
Catholic school back then. And so I went to Catholic school just for first grade, and then
He
they
was a
put me into
flunky.
public school. They kicked
got-
me out of Catholic school. I love the dunce cap, though, because Sister Katharina was really cute. Anything for attention. But that's a whole nother story.
Does anyone even know what a dunce cap is now?
Yeah, I
wonder.
know.
Yeah, some
Did
of
you
our
did
viewers
you play
may know.
sports or anything? Or?
Yeah, I played every sport, but I grew so late that I once I got into high school, I was the second shortest and tied for lightest in the grade, which meant I was not even 100 pounds when I was 15 years old. It was basically crossing the 100-pound line when I turned 15. And
But
so,
all your family share all the music.
so we were
why
all
he
we were
sings
all
so well.
my dad was a flautist, my mom played a whole bunch of instruments, and she wrote music, and we always sang around the piano. We were kind of like the little version of the King family, if you remember the King family.
So you write music and stuff too, I take it.
I don't write music. I just sing. We perform my mother's music that she wrote, that Peggy rediscovered when we were older. And she's like, "What the heck are you guys singing around the piano?"
That was fun.
We'd sing all these songs that sounded like what she was used to with Jerome Kern, Gershwin,
Irving Berlin.
Oscar Hammerstein. She says, I don't
If I get time, I got a
that?
story on that.
And we said, well, yeah, Mom wrote it.
Oh, I thought that's neat when your mom did it, because it adds personal. And you say, well, my mom wrote this. And, oh, yeah, cool, you know. And
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
She came up in the late 40s and 50s in Manhattan, New York City, hanging out with double dating with Don Knotts, Barney Fife, and a lot of people who started they were radio people. They were starting television and stuff, and so her music writing got discovered. She'd been writing music ever since she was in high school, and but then when she had all these kids, one of the founders of ASCAP, he was mentoring her, and he said, "You got to make a decision." And she's like, "Oh, it's too late because I'm already pregnant again." That was
But
me.
we keep her music alive. We basically took her songs. Some of them were scribbled on little pieces of paper, and we orchestrated them with my first musical director, Robert Marks. In New York, we did it. And you came to our opening night show.
Great.
Oh yeah, and the
great.
reason I got into theater is because I was just in this musical family. I happened to be a good, natural singer, and I started doing the shows because you didn't have to be big and strong in order to do the shows. So I did the shows in high school instead of the sports.
You have a beautiful voice.
Doesn't he have a gorgeous voice?
I mean it. For a male voice, I just think it's strong and good and in tune.
Well,
Yes.
thank you. My brother played tons of instruments. My eldest sister was a concert pianist. My second sister was a Juilliard dancer, and I seem to have the strongest singing voice.
I have a brother in New York, and he went to dancing and all that in the summer stock theater and this kind of thing, but he never made it big like you guys. But I got to laugh a little bit. I think the audience knows I like to rewrite parodies, kind of, or derivatives. Well, I got first in the nation with a VA. We had a VA competition for creative.
Wow, VA.
And guess what it was? Over the Rainbow, or I call it Rainbow. And I sent a thing to my brother. I said, I'm not really a singer, but he wanted a tape. He called back. He said, yeah, it's okay, but you really nailed Over the Rainbow.
Well, thank you for your service.
Song, yes.
Peg was in the service for 1 week, and I was in the service for 1 semester. I did Air Force RTC 1 semester of freshman year of college, and after that 1 semester, and I'm sitting there like competing with guys to see who gets to paint the major's office. A year after they just burned down the ROTC building, it wasn't real popular to have that short haircut and be in the, wear this service uniform in the 70s at college, but at Rutgers, I said, okay, so they said, well, so what are you going to do in the Air Force? I said, well, I'm going to be a pilot. He said, oh, there's no war going on. You can't be a pilot. So the Air Force Academy said, okay, goodbye.
It's not for everybody.
No.
So let's get into, how did you break into the big time?
Okay, well, I was in my sophomore year of college, and the seniors were going to an audition for summer stock
In New York City.
in New York City. So they said, come to the audition. So I ran home, and I got my music, my dance clothes, and I went with them. And I remember sitting there at one of the rehearsal audition buildings in Manhattan in the theater district, and there were hundreds of people, and it was hot, and I'm thinking, why am I here? Oh my goodness, because I don't love auditions.
Yeah.
I don't love auditions. And I got in, and then that summer our family broke up. It was a tough time for our family, and I did not go back to school, but I started auditioning, and I started getting work. And from that summer stock, it's so interesting because in life,
so your
life,
first job,
life is about relationships.
yeah.
Right.
It's all about relationships.
That's what I was thinking. How
Yeah,
you worked into it.
Give the bullet points of
Well,
this, 'cause
it's interesting because the summer stock that I auditioned for was called Town and Country Playhouse in Salem, New Hampshire. And it's interesting because Mr. Jeffrey Hastings Haberer, 2 years later, did that same summer stock. Well, we didn't meet for years and years. We kept missing each other. But when I got home from that summer stock, Dirk Lombard, who was in the summer stock with me, called and he said, Robert Dada, who had written Curly McDimple, and he was involved with Dames at Sea originally, they said the Ginger Rogers in this new show called Up in the Air Boys, a musical Valentine to Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, she was being replaced. And he said, get down here now and audition for Robert Dada. I knew the name Robert Dada. I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And I walked in, I had to do, read, I had to sing, and I had to dance, and I got that part of Ginger Rogers, and I loved Ginger Rogers. I loved all those old musicals, and I got Ginger Rogers. It was an off-Broadway, originally a showcase, and I got to play Ginger Rogers, and from there,
Did you get to dance with Fred Astaire then?
I got to dance with a guy who danced like Fred Astaire.
Peggy
oh,
was
he
a
was
tap.
so good.
Peggy seriously was a tap dancing prodigy. It was just came so easily to her. She danced with the best tap dancers in the world, the Nicholas Brothers.
Your
etc.
school, like the Wagner School or
I
the other
went
one,
to-
did that help a lot?
Well, you
Wagner-
know
Wagner
what?
College.
My little dance studios, Mrs. Rosemary's, Julia Brandy, Loretta O'Hara, these were all teachers that I learned to tap dance. But then I went to the city and I took with Henry Latang, who was Gregory Hines' tap teacher, Savion Glover, and that's how I learned how to really.
So you worked at it, but you were at the right place at the right time too.
I do believe that relationship with Dirk Lombard when he called, she's being replaced immediately, and then we had good reviews, and I got to get a really good agent from it, and then from there,
feeds on it.
yes, I did summer stock and I did regional theater, and then I got to work with Tom Moore. I auditioned for Arena Stage in Washington D.C., and Tom Moore was the director. Once in a Lifetime. It was a Kaufman and Hart comedy. It wasn't a musical, and Tom Moore was the
some
director.
famous actors.
Oh, yeah. If you knew David Garrison, who did Married with Children, The Neighbor, he was in it. Robert Prosky, like a lot of
Diane
people.
Wiest.
Diane Wiest were all in that. But then Tom was the director, and then years later, Tom cast me in Grease on Broadway.
Oh,
I love
there
my
it is.
Tom Moore. If Tom, you're listening somewhere, we love
There's
Tom.
the big one.
Tom
The
gave
big
me
one.
my big breaks, and
Right.
I'm forever, ever grateful. And I prayed for Tom this morning because he just lost his beautiful collie. He's in
Oh.
L.A. He had this amazing dog, this gorgeous collie called Shane. So Tom Moore was someone that God used to
And
bless
you played
me.
Frenchie.
I played Frenchie with Patrick Swayze, Peter Gallagher,
Patrick
Adrian
Swayze was
Smith.
Danny.
Yes, he was. Yes, but guess what? As I said in the show, who's the most famous Danny? John Travolta. But we have another very
I see that.
important Danny Zuko here who did it on tour. Where
No.
did you
The
do
least
it on
famous
tour?
Danny Zuko.
So let's see how you broke in, Jeffrey. How you,
Yes, because like I said earlier, I just fell into the shows in high school. I became a Christian. I received Christ as my Savior when I was 14 as a little wise guy in junior high school, and I kind of felt guilty about it. And actually, at a Catholic summer camp right after 8th grade, there was a priest who, it was Camp Cranwell in Massachusetts at a Cranwell prep school.
a born-again priest.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
He
Amen.
mentored me, and he helped me really get myself together. But when I came back, my brother invited me to a Tuesday night prayer rap, and they gave an invitation to receive Christ. I said, you know what? All these hippies who look like they're not on drugs anymore, and they look happy, and they're all saying how God delivered them from this and from that. And I said, you know what? I don't want to get into that. I mean, I was kind of toying with, negative side of the, hippie stuff. I was a little young to be hippie at that point, but I was experimenting with some of their stuff, and I said, I don't want to go, and I want to do what these guys are doing before I do what they did. And I received Christ, and it changed me immediately.
Praise God.
So anyway, so that was when I was going into my freshman year of high school, and because I was too small to stay with the sports, because the other kids were so much bigger than I was by then, I had the opportunity to start doing theater. People started asking me to do entertainment because I was always like in 8th grade when I was a bad kid, my Miss Hickson said, "You hear what your other teachers say about you going into high school, clown of the class, wise guy, big mouth." And I said, "Mrs. Hickson, you have no idea what they're saying about you." That got me a lot of points. But anyway, but then I turned around and in a nice way, it continued to entertain people, and I just got opportunities to audition for shows at church and at school, and they kept giving me the lead parts and stuff. So
From what I hear, you're good, but that doesn't mean you're automatically. You get in the right place, you do the right audition or whatever, things have to go. Yeah.
Well, you know,
Lord.
they say
Yes.
80% is showing up, but it doesn't hurt to come up in a family that's got all kinds of entertainment things just oozing out.
Folks,
of
I
pores.
just want to say, so I don't forget and not say enough, this show is high energy. I can't, I'm baffled at how they can do it. They're not 20 anymore, and they're just flying all over, and they're tap dancing, they're singing, singing, and it's high energy, it's fun, it's clean, and a lot of Branson isn't open yet. Come on down. It's Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. It's across from the Owen Theater in the old downtown.
5 o'clock.
What's
5
the name
o'clock.
of it?
Hot Hits Theater,
Okay.
5 o'clock, Thursday,
It's
Friday,
the Peggy Lee Brennan
Saturday,
show.
with my fabulous guest stars. I've got some special guest stars
Look
at
for
that show.
Peggy Lee
And,
Brennan.
and Blake Walker is our comedian.
Yeah,
and
he's good.
isn't he great? We worked with Blake when we first came to Branson 15 years ago. He had the show Blast, and they hired us.
I'd like to get him because
Oh yes, he'd love to
because
come.
he's
We'd
been
love
in
him.
Branson all the
Oh,
time.
yes, all
I've never
these
got
years.
anybody that's been here.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, he's
Well,
fantastic.
let's
And
go-
Emily and Emma, my two M&M little dancers.
Yeah, I just helped. It's Peggy Lee Brennan show.
I got a neat little story at the end if we have time. It's not
Okay.
my show, but start going into some of the things you want to share throughout your career. I mean, MASH and
Well, you know what, Randy, which is, as you were just speaking, what I realize as you get older, you look back, and I realize how God's hand was on it. The older you get, you realize, okay, some things you're destined. I never thought about it this way until the past 10 years. It was destiny that I was meant to be in show business. God's sustaining power has kept us in this business and has opened doors when we have a lot of talented friends that have been in it for a while and left and went into other fields. And it's not been easy. It hasn't been easy. We've had success, but it's almost like a based or abounding. We still feel we're supposed to do it. We went back to grad school, and my mother was so happy we were going to teach.
you know, and I've Roy Clark I've interviewed, Tony Melendez, Doug Gabriel, but I tell them you need witnesses everywhere. You certainly need witnesses in Broadway and shows. And I mean, if you could be nice to the people and tell them about the Lord, maybe in a conversation or something, what a witness! Because nobody's going to rush in there and be able to do that. You know, they just aren't, because you're in an environment. So for me, I'm glad you guys are in there, because it looks to me like you would be sharing in things.
Well, it is a calling, and we feel like we're pretty good at this, and so we're like, we want to walk in our gifts, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Word says He grants the desires of your heart, but He also plants in our hearts the desires. And it was both of us we enjoy entertaining people. We always have, and but we want to make a difference too. We don't just want to be like this escape. So we're able to, in our show, we're able to share personal experiences, and most of it is just fun. But some of it is kind of sharing things that are important to us. Like, I don't know if you remember when I shared before I sang Danny Boy, I share about something that's very topical with today's events. About when I was with the Negro Ensemble Company, which is the most famous black theater company in America. And I got to know Samuel L. Jackson and Denzel Washington, but one of the guys in the show is Clifton Powell, who's a B-list actor in Hollywood. He does like supporting roles, some lead roles in smaller movies and TV shows. But I got to see him going through just being, what's it called when they call profiled in a store in Illinois, Southern Illinois University, or some little school down in Southern Illinois, that we went to it on tour, and he's in the bookstore, and everybody's eyeballing him, like, what's this dark-skinned strikingly good-looking guy who has the best manners in the world walking in our store. I'm like, hello, what's wrong with this picture?
You both got to work with Mickey Rooney and in that play, but it didn't get out. I didn't quite understand that.
Go
It was
ahead.
a
That's
TV.
a whole other thing. But anyways, the point is we're able to talk about how we need to love each other, look in the mirror and say, God, what do you want me to do in the situation with all this stuff that's going on in the world today? But what do you want us to do to make a difference? And just reach out, share Christ, and love our neighbors, love our enemies. And Mickey Rooney was a whole nother story.
He
Mickey
loved the
Rooney was
Lord.
89 years old when he worked with him. It was like maybe the last filming project he ever did.
Sitcom.
It was
Sitcom
our
he
sitcom
did.
called Peg of My Heart.
We wrote it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
written about Peggy's life, and I'm obviously a part of it. And it's we hired him to play Monsignor Mickey.
And he preached the gospel and
And,
improv.
praise the
He
Lord.
was
He was like-
amazing.
Well, I think when he was younger, he
Amazing.
was a little hot-headed, but
Yeah.
by the time he was that old, he's probably all mellowed out.
Well, he wasn't
No,
mellow.
No,
Oh, no, no, no.
I don't think that's a word that was
No,
ever
he was
used to describe Mickey Rooney
feisty.
from birth.
He was
We know
feisty.
stories about him as a kid. Literally, Janet Lennon told us that he literally competed against her grandmother?
Oh, I don't know.
It's-
I didn't hear it.
It was in a talent contest. It was a talent
Oh,
contest. Yes,
wow.
and she beat him. They were like 6 years
Oh,
old.
my
and he
gosh,
had
I
a
never
temper
knew
tantrum
that.
after she beat him at the talent contest in L.A.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
There you go. I just learned a story,
But he was a
Janet.
character. We loved Mickey. He told us stories. He loved Judy Garland. He said Shirley Temple had no talent, which is very funny. But he loved Judy Garland.
He
and
was
told us so many
89.
stories. What a character.
He came out in a snowstorm.
he came to Branson for a while.
Yes, he was
Yeah.
there. We did it in Branson,
Oh,
and
okay.
Jeff tried to go out to help him as he's walking in all the snow. He wouldn't let Jeff help him. Snow all over the place. No, I'll do. But I knew he could improv, and his son, I said, we have lines we wrote, but I said, can we just improv certain scenes? And he said, certainly, he'd be fine. He was brilliant. Even the filmmaker was like, this is so amazing.
Wow.
Because he knew his character, Monsignor Mickey. So my character needed counseling. So I said, I'm in need. And he just would expound, sharing the gospel as Monsignor Mickey.
He improvised. And we studied the actor studio method, which is being in the moment, and where you just take liberties. And we said, just talk. And that's what he did.
We have all
That's
that
great.
footage.
Now,
It's beautiful.
You don't have to go where you don't want to go. But as a whole, are, we'll say stars or Hollywood or whatever, are they nice and everything, or are they kind of stuck up?
Listen, most people who are famous in theater, and even they're socially skilled at the very least. You know, so, and a lot of them are really nice.
Well, I can see too that people like me all around them, they don't like that all the time.
You know what? There's a
they also
humility.
they have to protect themselves too. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a flip side to it. But go ahead.
No, I think as an actor, to stay in touch and to be able to do parts, you have to have, I think, a humility. And you're constantly, you can be working on Broadway, doing a film, and then once the show closes or the film ends, you're not working again. You're looking for work. So most of the actors that have lasted in the business that we know, whether they know the Lord or not, there's something very special and even humble about it. Because the
cool.
lifestyle, you're abased, you're abounding, you're abased, you're abounding. It's for the most part, even if you are very, very wealthy, you're still looking for work then.
Talk about
the
the fear
next
factor.
part.
Talk about the fear
And,
factor.
there can be insecurity sometimes because you're always going into new situations. So it's like, I hope I'm going to be able to do this and succeed in it. So, and that,
You are your product.
so you are
You
your,
don't.
Yeah,
You, don't,
you are who you
You're
are.
not even holding an instrument like musicians. You are your product.
you are the,
You are
yes,
the wh-
instrument.
The
You
beginning,
are.
the middle, and the end.
What's
as,
this
as an actor?
Japanese Star Wars thing?
Oh, message from space.
Yeah,
Okay.
over in Japan.
Yes. yes.
Okay, who heard of Princess Leia?
Leah. Yeah, that's the one.
Who played Princess Leia?
Oh,
Carrie Fisher, daughter of
Debbie Reynolds.
Eddie Reynolds.
ah.
Todd
Okay, who
Fisher's
knows
sister.
who-
Hi, Todd.
Who knows who played? Who ever heard of Princess Mia? Who ever heard of Japan's innumerable knockoffs of big Hollywood blockbusters? Matter of fact, when this movie came out, it was the biggest budgeted Japanese movie in history, and it was the knockoff of what? Star Wars, with not Princess Leia but Princess Mia. Guess who played Princess Mia? Peggy Lee Brennan, with Vic Morrow, Academy Award winner Vic Morrow from Combat, the TV show Combat.
Oh, I liked him.
Philip
she-
Casno.
He's a nice guy, wasn't he? I liked
Oh
him.
my gosh,
Yeah.
was he a doll?
Well, this is
So
Princess Mia.
sweet.
They had no sequels. They had no franchise.
But you
He
know
was
what?
Great. He got great reviews.
The Kinji Fugasaku, who was the director of Tora Tora Tora, they treated me, oh my goodness, talk about being humbled. We were like royalty because it was an international film. They brought people over from England, Australia, America, and Kinji is like a master there. And they treated us like gold.
Did it go
I
over
had
good
my
there?
own assistant, even my June, and I was there for 6 months, and I filmed there. I had bruises all over my body from all the stunts. I didn't call my agent and tell him I was doing stunts. I would have gotten a lot more
Did-
money, but I had to dive off cliffs. I had to do flips down hills and
didn't get you a
explosions.
stunt person?
No,
And they
I
had her-
said I'd do it because I had been a dancer.
Tell them
so
about your flying, how you flew.
okay, oh
in
my goodness.
space.
Okay, I was up hundreds of feet. This is a true story.
This is a person with acrophobia.
This is a true story. I have to dive off, and there are little Japanese hundreds pulling. Like I dive, and they'd pull it that it would go up.
Oh,
She was
Yes,
flying with little ropes
this is true.
suspended.
And they said, well, if you get it right, you'll do one take. 3 in the afternoon till 4 in the morning, the next morning, I did, I don't know how many takes. I had to keep diving off. I had welts because they had an iron harness on my body, then my costume. I had welts on my body. So if you go to Netflix and see Message from Space, you will see me catching fireflies all over, and I'm flying all over in
Well-
my iron harness that you don't see.
tell us about Lieutenant Nugent and how you got
Linda
on
Nugent.
the MASH.
Okay. Well, I had been doing Grease on Broadway, and then I got the movie in New York, so I went and did the movie for 6 months, finished out my time in Grease, and this is so interesting because many people were like, why are you leaving the show? You're in a hit Broadway show. I kind of felt compelled to go to L.A. I didn't even know why. I just felt compelled to go to L.A. And actually, when I went to L.A., there's a lot of Christians in LA. I received the power of the Holy Spirit.
Oh.
It was amazing, and I have many Christian friends in LA. But I got there in July, and I took 2 months off to study because I had been working for a number of years, and I just wanted to study acting, and I studied. And then I had an agent, and I think it was my first audition actually. I was auditioning for MASH. I had never seen it because I wasn't
Never heard
watching
of it.
TV. I wasn't watching TV. I was doing theater. I was in Japan. And when I was in high school, I just did all the shows. I was a cheerleader. I didn't watch TV. And I called my friend Adrian Zmed, who had done Grease with me. I think maybe was he doing TJ Hooker then? But I said,
William
Adrian,
Shatner.
I said, would you read with me, rehearse with me? I'm up for this show. And he said,
Whoa.
what show? And I'm like, MASH. He said, that's a hit show. That's been running for like
The-
7 years. That is
the
like
hit show.
that is a hit show. I was like, oh, I don't know who anyone is. Like, okay, tell me. So he rehearsed with me. This is true. And I went in for talk about callbacks. They were very thorough. I went in a number of times, and when I got the part, and when I walked in, we do a general reading, right? I did not know who anyone was but Harry Morgan because I watched old
From the old
movies with
movies.
my family, and they're saying, oh, let us sit next to Gary, let us sit next to this, and I'm like, who are these people? I did not know. So I don't think I was intimidated.
Did
No,
Alan
you
Alda
didn't.
at least look familiar?
Yes, he looked familiar.
Well, now,
Yes, and it had been running, and I got to play Radar's girlfriend. It was wonderful. Everyone top notch. They were pros. They treated me. Oh, I was the new kid in town. The little New York actress that came in. They were
now
fabulous.
did I say most of them, some of them in real life were kind of like their character?
Yes, yes, I think so.
Father, what's his
Yes,
name? Asked you out for
Father
a date.
Father Mulcahy, very sweet. Jamie Farr was a doll. Gary's a sweetie. He was
Gary,
so
yeah.
kind, and
Yeah, you
and
could tell just by
yeah,
watching it.
yeah, his sweet
Now,
persona.
Alonda, he's a nice guy, but
Oh, so nice.
He's ruled a little, didn't he?
Well, you
Kind of
know-
run the show a
You
little.
know what? I think because I was so young and I was just got into Hollywood, all of them would come over and say, "Boy, why does Gary get all the luck? I want the girl. I want the girl." Like all of them were just so supportive and encouraging to me.
Well, did Hawkeye come after you ever?
Hawkeye.
I mean, he usually came
Well,
after most of the
he
nurses.
kept saying, "Boy, he gets the girl this week." That's not right. I mean, he was just so nice and encouraging and supportive. Yes.
What a
so-
wonderful, fun
yes,
thing. I'm so
yes.
glad you got to do that.
I know that. And you know
Yeah.
what? It's kind of the Malachi gift that keeps giving, because I still get little. When my first check I got was an F check, and it wasn't as much as when I did the show. And I'm like, F check? What is this? Foreign releases.
There you go.
It's released everywhere, and I've had relatives in St. John's or Canada, different places, call me and say, "I'm watching you now around the world." And I did the MASH Matters podcast last April, and I get fan mail from all over the world. I took like an hour and a half yesterday and filled out all my different cards and pictures. It's
Signing
a
pictures.
lovely
Okay,
thing.
one more question. I'm going to finish with the last 3 or 4 numbers in the show. There's a few
Oh.
something there that really got me, and I think you might be interested. But anyway, you did a documentary for Branson. You're both in it.
Yes, it was interesting. We were doing, this is almost 15 years ago. And we were in a show. We were in 2 shows at the Branson Theater next to the Walmart. And we just found out that all the shows at that theater, like 3 or 4 different shows playing at the theater, typical Branson, all different hours of the day. We were in 2 of the shows that would play daily.
What were the shows?
One was
He was playing Jesus in Isle of Dreams.
and the other one was
Had his
Blast.
long hair.
Anyway, so I'm there in my fake like $3 Jesus fake wig, and
He was a great
and
Jesus. He was good.
we found out the entire theater was closed,
In
which
2
happens
weeks.
at Branson. So there's these 3 old ladies, and one of the old ladies in the diva show, she's having a breakdown.
They were fabulous
She's
divas.
sobbing, the
They
show's
could sing,
closed.
boy.
And I'm standing by Jesus wig. We're all standing there like, and I just say, I think we're in Waiting for Guffman, and he's not showing up.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask about.
And-
When you played Jesus, did you get any special things like the guy that played Jesus in Mel Gibson's one? There was trouble on the set, and there was this and that,
Yes.
but I'm just curious.
The first time I played Jesus, I was actually about 2 months old because my mom always did these plays for my family. So for the first 3 years of my life, I played Jesus in our family. What would you call
Christmas
it?
pageant.
Christmas show. And they would always do a show, and I was baby Jesus. The 3rd year, her friend said, "Isn't Jesus getting a little bit big for the crash?" So that she had me play Little Lotus Angel the next year. But that's a whole other story.
And he played Jesus in
I played-
Godspell.
You guys, I played Jesus so many times. By the time I played Jesus in that show, he's like, "Oh, it's another day in the life of playing Jesus," because I looked like the Jesus of Michelangelo, not like the real Jesus. Probably, olive or a person of color, probably really. But anyway, it was just kind of fun playing Jesus always, because it was always very humbling actually.
Yes.
But anyway, what happened is this camera, all of a sudden this guy with a camera is like facing me, and he starts shooting me, and we're just talking about this, and it turns out this is Brent Meskey. He was good friends with Jack Black, who gave him a bunch of money, and he was shooting this documentary, and he discovered us through. He said, "Oh my gosh, this guy knows what time it is." He's talking about waiting for Guffman. He's like, "I feel like I'm waiting for Guffman in this town," and so they ended up following us around for 2 years, and they made this movie called Branson. And it
The
was a great
60s
documentary.
show was in it, and our show.
And it premiered at the
and
LA Film Festival.
Jackson Cash.
LA Film Festival 2009 to phenomenal reviews. You can still see it on Netflix.
We had
It's
3 red carpets, and it was really quite
actually a
amazing.
very good movie.
Well, then, as you were building to the end of the show, putting on the Ritz, I think.
Yes.
Hooray for Hollywood. I had it
Broadway
written
to
down.
Hollywood. Yes.
I wrote it down, a couple more. But what got me was when you went to America the Beautiful, which was, I'm sure it was planned to be kind of a patriotic thing. And I got a little choked up. But you see, the reason, and I would just say this, you don't have to ever do it or anything, but Paul Collins, you might want to joke with him. He come up to me at church one day about a year ago, and he said, I want you to rewrite this song. And well, what was it? It was Heaven, You're in Heaven. Well, I went to the internet, and it's cheek to cheek.
Yes.
Yeah, Erling Berlin.
Yes.
And when I do that, I like to know who everybody is and everything. And I started getting in there, and now you talk about America. You're talking about America now. Can we get back to this? Here's this poor Russian Jew
Yes.
that comes over. He lives in the worst part of New York City.
Yes.
He dances on the street for change,
Yes.
and then he's a waiter on a table, and he works his way into the best songwriter of the century.
Yes. You're right.
The thing about that is that's America.
Yes.
You can have that. You did it.
That's
You did.
right.
We don't want to go to socialism.
No.
You know, to me that fit right in. I was only thinking it, but it fit there because he wrote,
Yes.
"God bless America."
I know.
He's a Russian Jew, and he gave to World War II things and all that. He was very generous, and he gave to he took all those royalties and gave them to the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and so I looked this up. Well, I don't just do show or songs. Somebody said, "Would you do the song?" I feel like get told to for me, you know. But I felt the Lord saying, "Hey, you need to honor Paul. You can do it. I can do it." You know?
Yes. Yes.
And I
Through
sat
you.
down and went, "Heaven, I'm in heaven." And then I come around, sure enough, something fit. And I'll show it to you. I got it at home. But anyway, so I sang that at church for him. And but that's how that all came about. And I started learning. He wrote all those other songs too, "Coming on the Ritz" or whatever.
Yes.
Berlin
Yes.
did all that. It's like,
Yes.
oh,
He
wait,
actually
more.
was my mother's #1 inspiration for her
Oh.
music. Yeah.
Well, what really got me is
Sure,
he
right.
came over as wasn't an American really,
No.
but he became one, and he was poor and all that.
Yes.
He worked his way.
Yes.
We could still do that in this
Yes.
country if we'll get our act together.
Absolutely.
His mother would always say, "God bless America" to
Yeah.
him, and that's why he wrote that. His mother always said, "God bless America," as a young boy, because we read up. You know, you try
Yeah.
to read up on all the songs. you
He
do.
wrote the music to Showboat, which was, that was like the greatest American musical of all time. And
Jerome
then it was
Kern.
Jerome Kern, I believe. It
Oh
wrote
yeah, Irving
I-
Berlin. wrote
I'm
God
sorry,
Bless
Irving Berlin.
America.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry, Irving Berlin.
I think
Yeah.
he had
Yeah.
20,
I
Jerome
forget.
Kern did.
20
Jerome
scores.
Kern, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
20 scores. Does that sound right? 20
He had
scores on the movie.
numerous.
He had over 15,000 songs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unreal.
Loved America.
And yeah.
George
And
M. Cohen, the
now,
same thing.
The name of that movie, by the way, was Top Hat.
I know.
Ginger
yes.
Rogers and
That's why I did
Fred
all
Astaire.
that choreography in that show up in the
I'm
Airboys.
gonna give that to you because not that you.
Oh,
but I think you'll get a kick out of the tune.
Yes.
I think it came together really well. Some of the songs are hard. You have
To adapt.
You have to put adapt and all that. This one flowed in there real good. And but so if you remember that, just joke with Pastor.
We will.
Friday.
We'll remember that.
I hope he remembers.
We
yeah.
will remember that.
But
yes.
well, no, there's still some more stuff here.
Well, you know, I can share this because now I did the MASH Matters podcast, which people can go to, and all of the different characters and guest artists they've been interviewing. So if people who are big MASH
Tell them
fans,
that again, though.
it's MASH Matters. It's a podcast you can go to, and they interviewed me for an hour, but they have all the different guest artists and all those who are still alive they've interviewed. And you can just go and
that'd
hear.
be
I
cool. I'm
know.
gonna do it.
That's why now I'm getting fan mail from 25-year-olds and 18-year-olds and who are MASH groupies. You know, they're watching all the old episodes, the timeless shows, and it has a whole new following
Why
now.
don't you go over the show again? Tell them what's.
Well, I played Radar's girlfriend, Lieutenant Linda Nugent, in MASH, which was a series years ago, and the name of my episode is Hot Lips is Back in Town. And there are two storylines. Hot Lips goes through a divorce, but Gary, Radar, gets a girlfriend. And, you know, when they pick the hit shows for the year that win the Emmys, that year with my show, and I believe they have to submit 3. Now I heard they only submit 1. It won the Emmy, but MASH
show
won the
here.
Emmy a lot because people love MASH. You
Okay.
know, has a big
Either one,
following.
go down your list at the show in Branson,
The songs.
and we'll tell them again where it is because we want them
Okay,
to know.
go
And just
You know it.
just
Okay.
well, I
We do a show, Hot Hits, at the Hot Hits Theater. It's called Broadway to Hollywood to Branson. And we do classic Broadway and Hollywood songs that many of you may know, and those who don't know, they're classics. And they're fun, they're entertaining. And when we started doing the show, you know what we realized, Randy? What came to both of us, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. We pray people walk in and they're happy and they walk out happy. That's our
I
prayer.
don't know how they could. It's energy, you're smiling, everybody's having a good time.
Yeah.
I almost got up and started dancing and stuff, but
We like people to get up and start
I
dancing.
know, but my wife, she wasn't there.
Is
so
she
but
shyer?
yeah, crap, don't do that, don't embarrass.
I know.
But
Why
she
do we
wasn't
do
there.
that? Why do we do that to our husbands? I do that to Jeff too. We
Sometimes
shouldn't do that. We do that. We try to
Yeah.
keep them in line.
Well, you're asking, wondering about how we get our energy, and
Yeah.
we don't really know because we were born. My mother, she segued from her songwriting, and we, like I said, we always sang her songs. Peg rediscovered them, and we're like, so she said we have to do this. So that's when I started.
They all were
performing
like,
them with
"What?"
her.
And
But-
now they love it. His sisters and brother.
Mom was a developmental psychology professor, very smart, Columbia University, but anyway, she kind of knew, especially when I came in. I was her 4th child. She knew what I was going to be when I was in her womb. She said, "This kid is going to hit the ground running." Because she said I literally kept her up awake and kicked and pushed out her stomach more than all the other 3 older kids put
And
together.
he is like a jelly bean. You see,
And
he never
she-
stops
Yeah.
either. I don't,
She
but he does not
said,
either.
"You came out running," and I never changed. And it was
You know
just-
what's really,
Yeah.
I think, cool in this too? This man sings 4 of his mother's songs, and they're good, but it's different. You're not singing the same old song, so the variety is huge in this show. It's huge.
And Peg was also the same. In her, we call her kind of a freak of nature. She was just, she's timeless. I mean, she doesn't have to tell her age. She graduated from 29 plus to, I think she's 39 plus now. But she was like me. She just had this. Both of us had this. I don't know what. I don't know
Well,
why.
I
it's
just pray that God
limitless energy.
continues to renew our youth like the eagle. We mount up with wings of eagles. We run and not be weary. We walk and we don't faint. And Moses was 120 years old. So God can keep us young.
Well-
We go from glory to glory.
You guys must jog or ride bike or something.
We
right?
do.
We
Well,
ride
during this
bikes.
corona, we bought bikes. We went to
I was gonna
Walmart
say,
and
how-
bought bikes.
How could you stand up there and do
Wait,
that?
wait.
Doing something, you know?
I used to be a cliff diver. Now we just go in floaties. We
We get our noodles and we
We get
float
noodles,
our
so we-
beautiful lake in Branson.
Yeah, and we just keep paddling. So
Yes, we
I
do
went and
bike
walked
ride.
around our little housing thing there and I almost died the other day.
It's hot now. Now it's hot.
A fun reference for Peggy is that for people who know those great old films, probably the greatest tap dancing performance in the history of Hollywood is the Nicholas brothers, when these 2 little skinny black guys in what was the movie, Top Hat, or what was it?
The one with Gene
they're
Kelly.
jumping over each other's heads, doing the splits on the staircases and sliding down the banister.
The
And
pirate.
she danced, she performed with them, and she kept right up with them.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't care who you are. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But I would take 5 minutes, go to Google, and type in Dancing with the Rain, Gene Kelly's Dancing in the Rain. Yeah.
Singing in
Singing
the
in the
rain.
rain.
I'm sorry.
That's
Singing
okay. He's
in the Rain.
dancing as he's singing in the
Oh, yeah.
rain.
Singing in the Rain. And
Gene
Gene Kelly.
Oh, it's beautiful.
You will see something that's not been repeated.
It's beautiful.
And he's just, the choreography, it's just fantastic. So I'll give you that little hint. If you take 5 minutes of your time and type in singing in the rain, Gene Kelly.
And the Nicholas brothers also. They're a duo, a brother duo in the old movies. Gene Kelly and just
Great guys.
fantastic dancing. And yeah, tap dancing, I do believe, keeps you young also.
She's been
I
tap
believe
dancing
people
through
are tap
life.
dancing in heaven. Yes, my friend years ago told me, this was years ago, and I haven't done it, but she said, you need to write your one-woman show and write a book called Tap Dancing Through Life, because I guess I've
That's
been
what you've
tap
been doing.
dancing through life. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing that we got just enough time for me to spout this, but I really believe it. I believe it. Now, in my case, for some reason, I was listening to the song and different words come to me. Now, people say it's parody, but it's actually derivative because they're not funny, but that doesn't matter. But I would go home, get alone, sing that as loud as I could to the Lord. See, it doesn't matter what it sounds like. God loves it. It's worship. He made us all the same, and He made us for music. Just because you don't sing, professionally, but when you do that all alone, nobody watching, and you really sing it to Him, you will never worship like that. I don't think. I don't. I just cry when I heard this story about Frankie Valli's daughter, the second one, dying and everything, and he came out of the long hall
Yes.
with
Fallen Angel.
yeah, and then he came out with "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You." I just sat down. The Holy Spirit said, "Let's go," and I put, "I love you, Jesus, and if it's quite all right, I need you." Anyway, I wrote it that way. I just bawled. I didn't need to speak in tongues. I was like, I don't think it's just me. I think we're all made for music, and we just get kind of like this, and we go to church and do that. You see what happens to you.
That's right.
I really think it's for everybody. And
They're worshiping in heaven. Everyone's worshiping together.
and you know, I get some slack once in a while. I don't want to go do it out there really, but I felt I should. So some people get something out of it. I like it just for me. But somebody got on me once, well, you don't need to take the devil's music, blah, blah, blah. Baloney. You know what? God made us all. He gave us our talent. And then if we make songs that aren't, that's fine. But He gave us the talent. Well, now if someone else comes along and turns it up to God, it's His anyway. He
God
made everybody.
creates everything.
Yeah.
Satan just perverts it.
Yeah,
God's the creator.
He made it. He made you. And there can't be anything wrong with that, I don't think. So I got over that, people telling me that. But I have a lot of fun with it, and once in a while we share and give a testimony with it, and then sometimes it does well. Well, anything you want to say the last 5 minutes?
Oh, why do you give your little Miss Senior America and give your
My philosophy?
Yeah.
And you're Miss Senior America.
Yes. Okay.
Tell a quick story of that.
Long story short, over 40 years ago, I did a pageant. 2 of them didn't win. 40 years goes by. Our daughter, a few years ago.
She's actually first runner-up in both.
Both, yes. It's hard to be first runner-up.
There's
It's
nothing,
like lose.
there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
it.
But anyway,
As a teenager.
she becomes Miss Missouri's Outstanding Teen. Our daughter, there's a woman there who has a sash on, and everyone's congratulating her. And I was like, what is that? And when she said, I'm Senior Missouri, and I said, tell me about it. My mother still sings and dances. I thought, oh, Lord, you've got to be kidding me. I hadn't told my age in over 40 years, and I thought, is this my coming out party? I knew I was supposed to go in, and I went in, I won Missouri, I won Senior America in Atlantic City, yay, representing Missouri.
And how about the bathing suit?
And there's no bathing suit competition. There's a philosophy. So the night before I was to interview for Missouri, I had a dream, and this is my philosophy. It needs to be 35 seconds or less. Why am I here today? Why are we here today? Because it's never too late to dream a new dream, and it's never too late to live out an old one. It's never too late to begin again, and it's never too late to make a new friend.
I had that.
It's never too late to forgive, and it's never too late to fully live. It's never too late to love, because God is love, and love never fails. So never give up, because it's never, ever too late, and
Yep.
that's for all of us.
God can do anything.
Yes.
Anything. And He loves you, and He wants to have you fun. So don't ever give up. Like you said, keep dreaming, keep going, and you can't lose with Him. If you have Him in your heart, you're going eternity in heaven.
That's right, living forever.
So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Buenas noches.
That was great. Thank you very much.